Just make it,
Oh,
yeah, as a presentation. Yeah.
Okay, so is it okay,
It's,
Alita? Okay, so today is the presentation day for his thesis. So a couple, please spend your time about maybe 15 minutes to brief what you have done so far, and then let the committee to give a comments to you. Okay? Yeah. So
okay.
you can start. Yeah.
So, so good afternoon. My name is Paul. So today I will be presenting my thesis on fiscal and monetary policy, interactions and economic growth in Myanmar. Which is about the DSG model approach. So this work has been supervised by Assistant Professor Dr. Rook and my co-advisor, Associate Professor Dr. Nisit, and also my external advisor, Dr. Chorpon. Thank you so much for being here today. So my presentation has 6 parts. So first, I will presenting background and motivation. Second, research gap and objectives. Third, I will be presenting about theory behind my model. And fourth, the data and methodology. And the fifth, empirical result. And the last one is conclusions and policy application. So firstly, why fiscal monetary coordination matters. So let me start with why this topic matters. So after the 2021 military coup, Myanmar economies faced serious problems. GDP fell by about 12% in 2021. Unemployment rate rose to 4.3%. At the same time, international sanctions started and many business stopped operating. By August 2024, the Myanmar jets had fallen sharply to about 7,500 jets per US dollars in the black market. So these numbers show a country under heavy economic stress. So where fiscal policies and monetary must work together. So what do they do? So then, so here we can see that instability in the data. So unemployment jumped sharply after 2021. The exchange rate kept falling and very unstable, and money supply rose quickly from 41.6 billion USD dollar in 2023 to 52.56 billion in 2024. So this tells us that monetary expansion was happening at the same time as currency depreciation. So this makes policymaker difficult. So what is the gap? So based on this background, I found three gaps in the literature. So first, Myanmar usually look at fiscal policy and monetary policy very separately, not together. Second, most macroeconomic studies treat political risk as just a random, uh, unexplained shock. So third, the previous DSG studies rely, like especially Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, mostly use collaboration method, so they don't uh, use estimation method. So these are the three gaps that I have seen. So there are four objectives. So to explain how expansionary fiscal policy affects the output, inflation, and public debt. Second, how will monetary policy stabilize inflation and output using estimated teletype interest rate rule. Third, to analyze whether fiscal and monetary policy work together or work against each other. Fourth, to see how political instability shock pass through this exchange rate and affect the whole economy. So I have four main blocks in this economy. Household, the first one is household and farms decide how much to consume, save, and produce. So, and the second, monetary policy blocks show how the central bank set interest rates based on inflation and growth. The third, the fiscal policy block shows how the government manage spending, taxes, and debt, and also the external sector connects Myanmar economy to the rest of the world, and the interest rates and the exchange rate. So these are my main model block. So now let me explain these theories in simple terms. So the first, IS Cup said that today's output gap depends on expected future output minus the interest rate plus the effect of the real exchange rate on trade. The monetary policy rule is a Taylor type rule. The central bank set today interest rate based on the previous rate, current inflations, and the output gap. The third is the physical side. Government spending depends on past expanding, the output gap, and the public debt. Similarly, tax collection depends on the past tax revenue, output, and debt. So the external sector is modeled using uncovered interest parity. The real exchange rate depends on expected future exchange rate and the interest rate difference between Myanmar and the rest of the other countries. We call N their country risk premium. Finally, political instability is modeled as a persistent process, meaning political shocks in Myanmar do not disappear quickly, and this is built and lasts for many quarters. Yes. So data source, I use quarterly time series from 2013 to quarter one to 2022 quarter one. That is 45 quarterly observation covering 23 years of Myanmar history. And I combine data from 6 sources: the World Bank, IMF, PRS Group, CEI, and CSO, and our Myanmar Military Plannings and Finance Department office data. So why I use the methodology as Bayesian DSGE? So the reason is, unlike the frequent-based method like measurement likelihood, so frequent-based method needs a large sample size and they treat parameter as fixed number based on the data, but my sample size is small, only 45 quarter, and the estimate models have many equations, so the estimations have process may not smooth. So that's why Bayesian DSG solve this problem. It combines prior economic knowledge with the having data and also from the economic theory. So it's also give us a probability range for each parameter, not just single number. So my robot test strategy. So to make sure my result reliable, to verify, I check first. I increase the MCNC chain length from 20,000 to 50,000 locations. This is the range to check numerical stability. Second, I take a version where government spending does not react to output gap, only to depth. Third, I replace my main prior distribution with a flat. So to see my result depends on my assumption. In all 3 cases, these are the main findings. All of the main findings stay the same. So these are my calibrated parameter. So these are the real estimation. So we will focus on the color one. So here, the inflation response parameter is estimated at 1.75, which is above 1. So this means the central bank follows the Taylor rules principle. So it reacts strongly to inflation. So on the physical side, the government spending response to debt is very small, only 0.02. This tells us the government does not adjust its spending much when public debt rise. And the last, political instability itself is highly persistent with the value of 0.9. This confirms that political shock in Myanmar has lasted a long time. This is important response to how political instability shock responding. So now let's look at what happened after the political instability shock. When instability rises, the country risk premium jumps immediately, causing the real exchange rate to depreciate sharply, and on the other hand, the currency becomes weaker, and the import price rise and inflation also increase. At the same time, because of this effect, the aggregate output falls, and it makes household uncertainty, and also the farm stop spending. So, and consequently, the central bank raise interest rates to respond, but this cannot fully offset the import inflation. So this become stagflation, high inflation together with falling output. The second is monetary policy shock. So the central bank raise interest rates, and as standard theory predict, the exchange rate appear and both inflation's output fell. And but there is a slight effect because of output falls, tax revenue output also falls. At the same time, the higher interest rates make government borrow more expensive, and the government does not. On the other hand, the government does not cut spending, and because of this, the budget deficits and public debt rise. So, fighting inflation alone can also make fiscal crisis. And also government spending shock. So now, a sudden and because of increase in spending, it makes the fiscal deficit high and public debt high. So we theoretically, right, does it help the economy, right? Doesn't help the economy when the government spending increase. So in this situation, no, output actually also falls. This is the classic uh, uh, one of the we call it crowding out effect. Higher government borrowing push up inflation, and it's also forced central bank to adjust and increase interest rate, which then reduce private consumption and investment. Falling output also means falling tax revenue, which makes the debt problems even worse. And because of the lack of coordination between fiscal and central bank, it can only lead us to physical financial stress. This is factor for variance decompensation. So we will look at what actually drives the economy using variance decompensation. You can see aggregate demand shock explain almost 99% of our variance confirmed that post 2021 military crisis crash was a demand driving collapse, not just a supply problem. For the real exchange rate, the political instability and risk premium together show over 52% of in this variation. So this is the central finding of my thesis, which is political risk is not ordinary physical or monetary policy shock, is the main driver of Myanmar current volatility. So political risk also explain about 18% of inflation variation. So because of the political crisis. So let me find my summarize my three finding. First, Myanmar post 2021 economic crash was mainly a demand-driven collapse, not a simple supply shock effect. Second, there is a severe policy conflict. The central bank trying to fight the inflation, but on the other hand, we can see weak fiscal discipline from the government. So third, political instability is not just background noise. It is the primary structure driving and explain over the half of Myanmar exchange rate volatility. So what is policy obligation? So there are three. First, independent monetary policy can stabilize the economy. So we have to collaborate with the fiscal and monetary policy. So second, Myanmar urgently needs clear fiscal rules because debt has been increased a lot, and because of that one, the private sector needs helping. So third, long-term macroeconomic stability requires political stabilization. Without monetary and fiscal tools, our country economy can't solve the economic stability. What are my limitations and what is for the future research? So yes, my study has limitation because data constraint. I use a representative agent approach. So my model does not include the informal economy like the black market economy and also etc. And for future, I plan to add dual exchange rate framework, include uh, explicit banking sector friction and supply switching model uh, when when we have the reliable data source. So I'd like to thank my sincere to my professor Dr. Charuk and my professor Nisit and also my professor Dr. Darabon for this time, and thank you so much for your time. And I'd like to have your concern and your question and discussion. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Okay,
thank
thank
you
you,
for
Tom.
your presentation, and I start from Professor Danupon for his comment and suggestion to accountable. So please,
Okay.
อาจารย์ Danupon ครับ
All right. Thank you so much for your presentation, and I think this is quite interesting, and you're doing a good job in developing the model. I think the model. I have no question about the model. I think because in a way the model is complicated enough, and I think to be able to draw the discussion and policy recommendation from your result is, I think, even more important. So let's say that we're focusing on that part, which means that you don't have to do anything new or you don't have to redo your model. The point is, I think you can do more in the sense that you should pull out more information from what you have done already, because I think with this kind of model, there are a lot of implication and a lot of variables involved in there. So you may be able to get more information from this. So far that I see, for example, if you can get to the slide, I think almost toward the end, like for example, in your conclusion, a little bit, just one slide further. Yeah, just one more slide. All right, okay. Something like this. Okay. For example, in your conclusion like this, I think your conclusion is not wrong, but
Yeah.
for example, fighting 1 and 2, I think it is quite obvious. Even though you don't do any model, I think we can guess what will happen, right? So that is
Yes.
that is something that you discuss, but you don't you don't have to highlight it per se, because it is the information that at least I think all economists can guess these things, that this can happen, right? Like
Yes.
you don't have, for example, you don't have to prove or you don't have to do regression that you see demand collapse, right?
Yeah.
So you can discussing it,
Yeah.
but I think it would be even better if you discussing that when demand collapse, in your model, what is it suggest to do, or if the monetary policy and fiscal policy need to work together to build up this collapse of demand or something like that, or you might discussing that if you, according to your model, if you focusing on only fiscal policies, it may not help much in that sense. this is example. This is I purely make it up, okay? But this is something that I think it even more meaningful in your research since you have done a good job on modeling already. I think calling out more information would be crucial in this discussion. Or even on the second point, you said that uh, uh, you have in Myanmar you have severe policy conflicts, which is once again obvious. If you have a coup when government when military take control, it always have conflict. Not no matter it is Myanmar or not, right? In Thailand, we have
Yeah.
that kind of thing. It happens anyway. So, like I said, this could be the starting point of discussion. You can say that Myanmar going to that stage and what happens. That is something that you should draw from your model. All right, because this is once again this is obvious, and if you struggle with this coup and when military take control, it always like that. See, um, uh, something like more insightful. I think I like finding number three, for example, because that is something that you can get inside information, right? That the instability happen with what what is going on per se, right? You have so many things, you have so many effects going on. How can you separate them, and how can you lay them up? Like you even mentioned that policy instability is not just a background noise, but it caused more problem per se, right? But once again,
Yeah.
you're gonna need some evidence, some backup on that claim, and that is something that your model can you may draw some information to support that claim. Uh,
Yeah.
for example, see, which means that this also link to the policy recommendation as well. If you move one slide further, would you please move one slide further? Okay. Um, uh, First of all, uh, this is linked with my previous comment in the sense that first, your policy implication supposed to draw directly from what you have found. It not supposed to be any other good idea that maybe of course it is a good idea, but it is not involved in your research or is not involved in your methodology. You may claiming that, but you need to be clear with the audience that that idea is not from your research, but it is a good idea that may support what you found here. Okay, so I normally see
Yeah.
this policy implication into two groups. The first group is something that you need to focus on. It is the group that draw policy implication from your result, from your research. Another group here is some other good suggestion, but not directly from your research. Okay. For
Yeah.
example,
Yes.
like for number two here, you said that there is the urgent need for fiscal rule, but I don't know
Yeah.
if the urgency of fiscal here is something that is involved in your methodology or model or not, right?
Yeah.
If it is, then you can claim that. But if not, I think you might need to disaggregate this policy implication out, or maybe put it later on. You might raise the point that you focus on or you draw from your research first, and then you put this later on, something like that. Or even sustain tertiary investment here. Um, Once again, I don't know if because I didn't see it exactly in your model. So I don't know if I have no doubt that this is a good idea, of course. This is a good suggestion, this is good policies. But as
Yeah.
long as it is not directly linked to your result, you might push it, toward the end, not raise it as the main point or the key discussion in your research. So once again, all in all, I think you need to be carefully draw policy implication firstly from what you have found. That is first thing, not go beyond that point because there are there can be a lot more implication from what you found, of course, but you need to link first the policy implication from what you have found at the first step, not implicate it further, something like that. Just to be clear,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
all. And I think as I started up that I saw that I saw that your model has a big potential of they have a lot more information that you can draw from, so you might need to rely on that, or at least I think one key point in this kind of research is that since when you chalk into the model, there are a lot of variable that change. There are a lot of information that you can pull out. One key point
yeah,
that you can do is whether you can set up the priority of what you should discuss first and what should come later on. I think this is one of
yeah,
the main important point that many research like in the same manner as this one need to focus on, because there are a lot of things to discuss here. You need to be clear of what you want to focus on and what you want to draw the conclusion on, and that lead to
yeah.
policy recommendation as well. So I think that is the of my main comments that I have now. Thank you so much.
ครับเอ่อ
Thank you so much, Ajahn.
Thank you for constructive comments, and I have agree with Professor Danupon about your policy implication, because you choose explain the policy based on your results from your simulation. That's why I think sometimes you go beyond the results. So it may need to explain how come this policy intervention can create this kind of results. I think it's quite important, because you should not mention something that's not from your model. Otherwise, we confuse that this is from your own study, or just from some book or article that you may read through it, and then you make conclusion by your own.
Yeah,
Okay, so I think this is quite important, because we would like to see the results and can create some policy impacts to the model. Yeah, for your policy. Yeah. So next, I would like to ask Dr. Visit to give him some comment or suggestion for his thesis. Yeah, please.
Thank you. I think I totally agree that actually this is a big result from the model. And since we could not find any evidence on the ground, probably because of the situation called instability have so many impacts, just like Dr. Danupon said. But I did see a monetary authorities have some announcement quite often during that time. You may get the information, Krapal, from the Central Bank of Myanmar or CBM. They have the list, you know.
yeah,
Probably it was unbelievable monetary and announcement. Like they announce like just like a routine, like daily announcement. You can claim them because of that. That's what the mechanism have loosened the instability. I think monetary has much more impact on your impulse response variables more than the physical. Physical cannot insist in the way of the model, but monetary policy already work in the short term. So this is something I can found. And we had the campaign, for example, in Thailand, just like 50-50 plus. But during the situations called the coup, you cannot see that work well to stop the blooding of the people. So they cannot trust the physical and also monetary. So this is something that you can have the evidence on during the time that you can have. And that's what Dr. Danupon mentioned, that keep those in the period, okay? That
yes, yes,
that
yes.
the mechanical a mechanism of monetary and the physical policy can be worked at some sentence, and you can claim on those period based on some works as well, and the rest that will be perfect. 10 for me, in my opinion. And if Dr. Dudupon can ask, I will follow. But if he didn't have the question, I should keep my statement at the period, Ajahn. So that's perfect. Okay. So thank you so much for this
Thank
kind of comment.
Thank you for your comments. As we know that he have already published his paper in the international journal already. But
Yeah.
anyway, that is not related to your final defense because this is from his committee suggestion. So you need to correct and revise as he mentioned that he suggests to you. Okay,
Yes, Ajahn.
and
Yes, Ajahn.
and what else that he need to improve or to revise from his presentation.
Just one quick thing from me. I think I totally agree with Janice. This is a very good paper in a way. But since your thesis, your final draft here can be longer than the paper that you get published already. So I think it probably be a good idea if you can have more time to clarify all the assumption, because don't forget that the SGE is developed by design, which means that all in all, well, like I said, I believe in this model as long as I believe or I rely on those set of assumptions. So I think you need to carefully explaining your assumption a little bit. I think maybe in a little longer manner, just to be clear
Yes.
of what you try to set it up. Because of course, in this such model, if you change your assumption, the equation or the model would change a little bit, and then it might alter the result. So we believe in this result because we believe in those assumptions. That is the way that we normally see. So I think spend a little bit more time on your clarification on assumption. I think that would be a good idea, and then it will make your paper even better in this case.
Yes.
In this case, yes. Thank you.
Okay, then Ajahn Nisit, any comment or any suggestion, or you
I think
finish?
the data set is also already calmed down. You can improve your quality of your full thesis because you have a lot of things to
Yes.
be updated, right?
Yeah.
Update mean in the way
Yes.
that writing, and you have time for
Yeah.
sitting and write more to make it better quality beyond the scope of paper. So probably that was a time that you can have more, like descriptive portion more than the
Yeah.
econometrics part, KP.
Yeah,
You're good
Yeah,
in
true.
speaking. I think writing is also good, but
that's
try
the
to escape more from the comfort zone of qualitative and try to do more quantitative this time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Ajahn Nisit, because students always think that to make a mathematical symbol is look more sexy than the descriptive. That's why
Down
most
to
of
earth
them
is the
put all the
important.
equation
Down to
or
earth.
everything.
Totally agree with Janice here, and I think well, one thing to look at this matter in this matter is that we cannot avoid uh, we cannot prohibit you to use AI, but I would suggest that you use AI wisely in a way that to clean up the
Yeah.
language. But the good way to use AI to capitalize it is you need to work it out. It means send it back and forth, not just ask the question and that's it, and receive the answer and that's it. You may need to
Yeah.
throw in the idea, asking them to clean up your writing, and then you might come back and releading it, and then you might even ask them back why you changed my sentence to be this way or something like that. I think that is a lot of room to improve in this writing, and I think AI would be a perfect tools to clean up the language because they have the pool of vocabulary a lot more than us. I think even
Yeah.
me or anyone here, but of course they can do more. But I think the fundamental thing that you can use and it is safe to use is to clean up the language. Is is one point that I think I suggest you to do. Okay.
Okay, so you understand for the comment, right? I think you are very
Yes.
lucky that you have very kind committee to give you very good comments.
Yeah.
Okay, so if uh we don't have anything, so you just leave the room for a while, and then we will discuss,
Just
and then
wait in the waiting room. Okay.
yeah,
Oh,
you just
okay.
and then you will come back again, and then get
Yeah.
the exam results. Okay.
The
Okay. So,
I think I don't
I
know
have.
who set up to be a share. You need to
I
stop
let her
sharing
know. I let her
first.
know, but AKP, you
Okay.
just leave, and I will let you to come back. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Just can you leave
Okay. So,
the commentary? We will have some discussion about your presentation. Okay.
So
okay.
just
Okay.
read from
So
the room.
Leave the Zoom.
Okay. Okay.
Read the room.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So first of all, I think congratulations is on the way. You hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. So yeah,
Yes. Yes.
congratulations is on the way, which means that you passed the proposal defense with the good quality. Okay, but with minor adjustments as we have discussed just a little bit ago, which means that first point, be careful about discussion on your result. Okay, focus mainly
Yes.
on what you found first. You can discuss the extension, but don't need to pull it up front. Okay, you need to lay it out on the back. Secondly, link to the first one. It means that this thing need to apply on policy recommendation as well, focusing on what you found first. Third, you may need to work out on your assumption a little bit more by explaining more why you set this assumption, what is the good, the bad thing, so on and so forth. In the fourth point, we have assumptions already. What do we have? Okay.
Central banks.
I'm sorry.
About the central bank that
Oh, the
Dr.
central bank.
Nisi
Yeah.
mentioned. Yeah.
Genesis had mentioned that you may be able to add another section in your discussion that beside of what you found in your regression result or in your model, what else that you can draw, maybe from the news, from the experience, from other information. For example, your central bank has limited knowledge of doing this, so the policy that came out may not direct to the point or may not be able to solve the problem directly or something like that. But of course, be careful on writing that part because I mean you don't need to attack anyone directly, but just want to make the constructive comments, something like that. So a little bit more careful on that. And on number 5, you may be able to improve your writing a little bit. Well, your writing is okay. Like I saw your paper, which means that you are acceptable for sure. But of course, we always have room to improve. So if you can, you may working on your writing a little bit by probably using AI if possible. You don't have to do for the entire of your paper, but in some sentence or some paragraph that you think you need some improvement or you want to fix it, I think AI would be one source of data that you may rely on. Okay, so those are the 5 main minor
Yes.
point that I think you should address before you submit the final draft. Okay, do you have
Yes.
any question for
Yes.
me or for the committees for now?
Yes. I don't have actually.
Okay,
So thank you so much for the
all right.
comments.
Do we need to take another picture after finish
Uh,
the exam? I don't know ดรนิสิตพี่ไม่รู้เลยว่าเดี๋ยวนี้กฎเปลี่ยนไปขนาดไหนที่คณะเรา
It's changed. It's changed. It was limit some of a scope instead of writing more intuitive or descriptive thought, then narrow them down into like the compact size. That means we meet some of many things that we used to have in the past.
Okay.
So I think this is my personal comment, Krapao. So instead of having more
Yes.
information, you have to make some of comprehensive writing
Uh-huh.
and still be, understood by somebody else. So
Okay.
I don't know. It's challenging writing. You just do it.
Okay.
Okay, the
That's
sound
good.
is
Yes.
is is now in our room, so we
Okay.
may need to take the pictures.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, just one last time,
All
Ajahn.
right.
1 second, please. All right, good. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank you.
ขอบคุณทุก
Right.
คนครับ
Thank
Thank
you.
you everyone and บายบาย
ขอบคุณ
ครับ
มาก
ส
ค
วั
รั
ส
บ
ดี
สวัสดีครับ
ค่ะ
ท่านทุกคนวันหลัง
ขอบ
คง
คุณ
ได้เจอตัวจริงนะครับ
น้
ผ
อง
ม
อ้น
สวัสดีครับ
ขอบ
อา
คุ
จาร
ณ
ย์
ค
ค
รั
รับ บสวัสดี
Good
ครั
job
บ
I all. Good job.